hear that music, you know Chris Benoit, the Canadian crippler, is in the house, the heavyweight champion. We'll talk to him. Did he almost quit with the neck injury? Who helped him along the way and who hurt him? And his great relationship with Eddie Guerrero. Chris Benoit, one-on-one. Bring it on.
The Record with Michael Landsberg is brought to you by the Keg Steakhouse and Bar. For great steaks, good friends, see you tonight.
We have done these one-on-ones for, about as long as we have had a we here at OTR. And for me, the true special ones beyond The Rock and Stone Cold and even Vince are one we have Canadians. And right now we have the guy who's not just the top Canadian, but top guy in the World Wrestling Entertainment, Chris Benoit, the champion. Nice to see you, Chris.
Great to be here.
You still a Canadian kid, even though they now say he hails from Georgia?
Residing in
Okay,
Atlanta.
very important. We'll talk about that later on. Congratulations. They gave you the belt. I want to take you back, and I want you to take us there. March the 14th, Madison Square Gardens, WrestleMania 20. You've been working at this since you were 18 years of age?
Yep.
And all of a sudden now, you're holding the belt after winning. Tell me what you're feeling as you look at it right there.
Everything went into slow motion. I've never had a moment like that in my career. It's like as soon as the bell rung, all of a sudden I could see people clapping.
Now, is that genuine emotion? Because
yeah.
see the thing about being a wrestler is, anything we look at, we think maybe it's a work. Maybe you're just acting.
Mm-hmm. No, I mean, this is, I'd said before that match that, this is going to be the defining moment of 18 years of work. And it truly was. It's like after that happened, it's like everything, like I could see the people clapping, like it was something surreal. It was beyond anything that I've ever experienced. And I could see, like, I had thoughts of being down in the dungeon, training with Stu, my first match in Calgary, going over to Japan, like my whole career flashed before me.
Now, do you feel like your company has made a push to giving the belt and giving pushes to guys who are smaller, right? And was that like the key sort of change in philosophy for you? Because you've always been known as a guy who was probably the greatest wrestler on the planet, but too small to be champion.
I never looked at it like that way. A lot of people have, and I've heard it over and over again. To me, I've always been told too. It's like, well, you don't politic enough. I'm very quiet. I'm somewhat of an invert, so I'm not very outgoing. It's like, but I am me. I am who I am. I'm not going to change for.
Did you think this would happen? Because as you say, you're not a guy who's going to grab the microphone and entertain the way The Rock entertains, or even a guy like Chris Jericho. You have a company that Vince McMahon has always said he loves big, huge, massive guys. Those are the guys that he wants to be the champ. So you're either big or you're really great with the microphone. Did you ever think this is never going to happen?
No, I didn't. No, because I mean, look at Shawn Michaels. Look at Brett. I mean, you look at some of the champions, and they weren't big, monstrous guys. So that was proven wrong long ago. But were you worried about the company having cold feet? Because this was in the works for a while, right? Heyman was pushing you as far back as last fall. Did you ever think, you know what, maybe they're going to take it away from me? Because your company has done that before, right? Yeah, that's like initially when it was brought up, and that I thought, well, if it happens, it's cool. If it don't, it's cool, because I'm doing what I love to do. This is my passion. I consider myself an artist, like a sculptor, a painter, a rock and roll singer. What I do is art, and it's my passion. And it's like, no matter where I am, I'm going to be happy because I'm doing what I love to do. This is a great honor to be able to accomplish.
And when he says this, you're pointing to the belt.
Yes,
right?
Yeah.
But whether you had the belt or not, you're first and foremost a wrestler, right? First
and foremost a wrestler, and first and foremost to go out there and wrestle and entertain the fans.
Any goal at all to be a crossover guy? Because obviously, you can't watch television for an hour and not see a trailer for a movie for The Rock. Mm-hmm. A lot of guys in your company have crossed over, and now Rock's doing it successfully. You're at the top now. Would you move at all away from what you've been, and that has been strictly a wrestler?
If the opportunity arose, I would.
Really?
Yeah, but right now nothing's been offered, nothing's been talked about. So, I mean, I'm thrilled to be where I'm at in my career right now, and that's what I'm focused on.
Any vindication for you, given the fact that, you know, especially WCW, Vanilla Midget, Nash called you that? I mean, I'm sure you've been called a lot worse things than that. But is this, you know, and you've already said that you're an introverted guy, you're a positive guy who's not going to stick the finger out and say, look, I told you so. But is there anyone, as you're holding the belt up, that you're thinking, this one's for you?
In terms of, you know, rub it in their face?
Yeah,
or?
yeah.
No. Because to me, it's like, you know, this is for, that was for everyone that has ever encouraged me, that has always said that you can do it, and that was also included to everyone that said that you can't do it, because to me that's the greatest revenge is success.
So you're the guy now that holds the belt, right? And young wrestlers would look at the guy with the belt and say, you know what, can I do that? I can never be like Chris Benoit. Do you feel a responsibility to the young guys? And more than that, did a guy like Hulk Hogan ever help you and give the benefit of what he had, because you wrestled with him for a long time?
Yeah, I've never wrestled a singles match against him. I've wrestled in tags with him. But just having been with him in WCW and having watched the way he carried himself, he, in my opinion, just my opinion, he was a very political guy. And you know, there were times where he'd walk by me and not say hi to me. And I didn't think that he carried the belt well and represented it well. Because to me, it's like last Monday, we're at TV, and they have dark matches where they're local guys that come in that aren't going to be shown on TV, that they're just getting an opportunity for the office to see them wrestle. I mean, I spend 15, 20 minutes talking to these guys, encouraging them. You know, I'll stand up and take my shirt off and say, look, it can be done. You know, believe in yourself, because that's what it's about. And it's like, there's a lot of champions that I never got that from, you know, throughout my years. And I looked at that and I thought, no, that's not right. That's not what being a champion's about.
So those guys would probably look at you and say, you know what, if I could be like one guy, it might be Chris Benoit, because you're the champion right now. If you could be one guy, who would it be? From Buddy Rogers to Triple H, if there's one guy you could say, I'd like to emulate him, I liked him, who would it be?
Well, I always emulated Dynamite Kid, but right now, to me, it's Chris Benoit. I mean, I'm very happy with who I am, and I've fallen on my face a lot, and I've been through a lot of crap, and I've been peaks and valleys. But, you know, I'm very happy with who I am today and what I've achieved. That's what I've worked for. It took me 18 years, but, you know, I got there. And I got there the way I wanted to, with my dignity, and I kept my dignity, my respect, the way I wanted it to be.
Roll in the music, I did it my way. You're talking about peaks and valleys. We'll talk about those, because wrestling has been dominated by guys at the top, at the bottom, and you can work in both directions, and you're at the top right now, and we're thrilled for that. He's Chris Benoit, and he's a kid from Montreal, grew up in Edmonton, and now he's the guy who holds the belt in the WWE. Back with more OTR in a moment.
Off the Record with Michael Landsberg is brought to you by the Keg Steakhouse and Bar. For great steaks, good friends, see you tonight.
Now, when I say I got a pain in my neck, I'm saying that as a layman. But when a wrestler says, I got a pain in my neck, that means trouble. What you do is dominated by guys with serious neck injuries. And you had a very serious one, right? 2001. You missed a year? Mm-hmm. Any thought over that period of time, or saying, you know what, I've made good money, I've had good times, I'm going to quit while I can still walk?
When I was sitting in the doctor's office in San Antonio, which Dr. Youngblood, who Stone Cold Steve Austin referred me to, and he told me what needed to be done, that, you know, that evening, I cried. I called home and cried, and I said, I don't know if I'll ever be able to wrestle again. It was very. I was afraid for the first time whether I'd be able to, you know, pursue what I love doing. And but after that, the next day, I'm like, okay, we got to do it. It's got to be done. Let's do it. Let's go on with it. And from there, it's, you know, it's about thinking positive and being positive and rehabbing it. And since I've been back, knock on wood, I haven't had anything questionable happen in the ring where I'm like, oh, you know, what was that? Nothing. So people ask me this, how's your neck? I said, my neck's fine. My knees hurt, my elbows hurt, you know, my shoulder joints hurt. The neck's fine, though. You know, it's like everything else hurts.
You're a guy who's at risk, though, because you're a wrestler, right? You don't have gimmicks to fall back on. You can't take a match off. You can't take 5 minutes off. When guys wrestle Chris Benoit, they know you're going wall-to-wall aggressive. What's the key for you, the absolute key in terms of staying healthy and in terms of your longevity now, knowing that?
Persistence, you know, persistence in my way of life, and working out and eating good and trying to get a good night's sleep, which is impossible on the road, but it basically persistence. And throughout the years, I've been so fortunate to have crossed paths with people and become friends with people through my life, and I've seen them rise and I've seen them fall. You know, and one of my best friends, Eddie Guerrero, I was traveling with him. I went through him when I seen him fall, and it's like, you know, it's about taking care of yourself and being persistent with that and consistent with that. So
I want to save the Guerrero thing for later on, because I think in a lot of ways it sums up so much about the industry. In your case, it sums up friendship, camaraderie, a guy that you work with. We'll get to that in a second. What motivates you? Because a lot of guys are motivated by being a star, right? They want to be a star. A lot of guys want to be rich.
Big difference, big difference. When I'm watching the show, I could tell by watching how they perform, how they wrestle out there, who's out there because they're passionate about it, and who is out there for the stardom, for the accolades. It's like there's a huge difference. Like I said, to me, I'm an artist, and what I do, I'm passionate about. There's some guys that come in like the Lex Lugers and guys like that. That it was about the money, it was about the fame. Whereas other guys that come in, the Bret Harts, I mean, myself, it's about the passion. I love
Can you be friends
wrestling.
with a guy like Lex Luger, a guy who doesn't share the same passion for wrestling that you have?
Well, yeah, I've got friends
Brock?
outside of the industry.
Can you be friends with Brock?
Brock?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He
I'm good
quit,
friends.
right?
Yeah, I'm good friends with Brock.
But he quit, right, because he didn't like the life, the travel, and all
Well,
of
everyone's
that
not
means.
cut out for it,
Right.
And I hope that he is extremely successful in the NFL if that's what if that's what he wants to attain. Because life is about dreams and succeeding and chasing your dreams. I was fortunate enough to have a dream and be able to pursue it and succeed at it, and I hope he's able to do it. But really, I'll bet anything that he will be back. Whether he goes to the NFL or not, he will be back, because wrestling, I mean, he's a wrestler. He grew up amateur wrestling. He'll be back.
He was one of the chosen ones, though, wasn't he?
Yes.
Right, and you weren't, right?
In terms
You
of,
had to work your ass off to get that belt. In the gym, in the ring, you had to become arguably the best technical wrestler in the world to have a chance at that, right?
Yes and no. Yes and no. To me, and I've had conversations with Kurt Angle, and I'm good friends with Kurt, but we've got into verbal debates, and to me, I'm like, I've been champion before, and having the belt, that is so. It's such an honor to have that bestowed upon you, because you're representing the whole company. But I've had compliments from my peers. I've had Vince McMahon pull me aside after matches and compliment me in ways that were more rewarding than getting a big check, or more rewarding than attaining a belt. That made me champion within myself. It says, hey man, yeah, that to have your peers compliment you, it don't go beyond that to me.
Great answer. We'll go to break, and we will return with Chris Benoit. He was born in Canada, but he resides in Atlanta, Georgia. We'll talk about whether that pisses you off when OTR returns.
Off the Record with Michael Landsberg is brought to you by Adidas Active Deodorants and Antiperspirants. Athletes get it.